Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your head.
Hi, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. I'm Rosemary LaChance, an energy healer and a spiritual advisor and teacher.
And I'm Tracy Crampton. I'm an intuitive advisor.
Tonight we are continuing our Life Explained series, which will give you food for thought information about spirituality based on the teachings of Hans Wilhelm from his series. We will play one or two different DVDs and then have dialogue about it. We encourage you to call or email us or write to NHTV with your questions. We will answer them on the show or privately if you prefer. This is not a religious show, and no matter what religion or belief you follow, the information we give you will only enhance your beliefs. We do not try to convince you of anything. This series is recorded and will be shown in your area on your local public service cable network. Please contact them for dates and times.
Please visit Rosemary or Hans's website, where you will find a wealth of information about our show in this series. Our shows are now available for you to watch on YouTube for free. Just go on YouTube and type Healing Outside the Box to make your choices. We are constantly adding new shows and keep checking back. We're also on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box. Please like our page for the latest information about our show. We hope you enjoy the show.
Okay, the title of tonight's show is number 1, the 7 chakras, and the second part is how to meditate. And if we have time at the end of the show, we'll show you a meditation tape that you can learn from. Okay, so let's put the first one on, the 7 chakras, and then we'll have dialogue about it.
Dialogue now.
Okay, so you can do what you say.
Welcome, I'm Hans Wilhelm, and today I want to continue my series on wellness for body and soul. I invite you to take a look with me at the 7 energy centers of the body, also called the consciousness centers or chakras. What is their purpose and how do they affect our well-being?
We have heard that everything that exists is permeated and kept alive and evolves by a cosmic energy that we can call the all-power, all-spirit, flowing ether, or simply God, or love. This spirit energy also keeps our spiritual and material bodies alive and vibrant. But how does it do that? Our etheric body, our soul, corresponds more or less with our physical body. The center of our spiritual body is what the mystics call the nucleus of the soul. It is the spark of God, or God spark, and it is situated in the region of the crown of the head. And this spirit energy flows into our body through this nucleus. The energy then flows from the nucleus on the left side of the body along the spine down to the pelvic area into the so-called collective basin. Then the spirit powers flow again on the right side along the spine up to the nucleus of the soul. On its way, the spirit energy runs along 7 junction points of energy, which are also called consciousness centers, or in the East, they are called chakras. The purpose of these consciousness centers is to distribute the spirit power through many ramified paths via the nerves to the individual organs of the body. So each center is supplying a certain area of our body with the spiritual energy via our nervous system. It is interesting to know that the 4th consciousness center, near our heart, is a kind of switching and pumping station that draws the energy up from the collective basin and then sends them up to the nucleus. These 7 consciousness centers all have a certain ethical quality. They are the 7 divine powers of divine life. Starting from the bottom to the top, they are called order, will, wisdom, earnestness, patience, love, and mercy. Let's look at them individually. The first center is called order and is situated above the collective basin in the region of the coccyx. It feeds, among others, the sex organ, bladder, rectum, pelvis, with hip joints, knee and ankle joints. The second center is called Divine Will and is situated in the region of the sacrum, slightly behind and below the navel. It feeds the kidneys with the uterus, large intestine and colon. The third center is called Divine Wisdom and is located in the lumbar region. It mainly feeds the spine with spinal cord, stomach, small intestines, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, and spleen. The fourth center is called Earnestness. It is located between the shoulder blades near the heart. Naturally, it mainly feeds the heart, lungs, and bronchi, spinal cord, and ribs. In this center, there's a special power active, that is the Christ spark, which I spoke about in details in a separate video. This Christ light is an additional, supportive, redeeming and healing power within us. Therefore, many mystics call this center also the Christ center. The fifth center is called Patience or Kindness, and it is in the region of the neck. It feeds the thymus, tonsils, thyroid gland, parathyroid, windpipe, larynx, throat, and teeth. The sixth center is called Divine Love and is between and behind the eyes. It feeds the eyes, ears, the organ of equilibrium, nose, pituitary gland, and pineal gland. Above it is the seventh center, which is called Mercy or Gentleness, and it is in the back of the head near the pituitary gland. It feeds mainly the cerebrum and the cerebellum. These consciousness centers are light-filled, pulsating and rotating structures in our spiritual body to provide every organ and every cell with the life-giving cosmic energy via the nervous system. In a healthy body, the spirit power flows to all parts of the organism without obstructions. It is only when an organ is no longer supplied with sufficient spiritual energy that illness arises. This happens when the respective energy center is blocked. Then the cells become sluggish and ill. How can these blockages happen? The reason is always our selfish or self-centered sensing, thinking, speaking, and acting, which is opposite to the selfless stream of life, the stream of love. For instance, any negative thought becomes immediately visible in our aura, that is, in the radiation of the soul, and then, if not transformed, enters the soul as burden. Such burdens overshadow the consciousness centers and prevent the divine spark energy from flowing freely and unobstructed to the organs and the cells. As I have said earlier, every consciousness center also has an ethical quality. Therefore, there is a direct correlation between certain wrong behaviors or thoughts and certain consciousness centers. So we can say that an illness of an organ is a violation of the divine ethical attribute, a violation against love. Let's look at some examples. For instance, we may have a health problem with our stomach. The question we might want to ask ourselves, what or who can't I stomach? Or what gets me in my gut? It can be fear, but it can also be anger, as we might be swallowing many things down like our anger. They lie in our stomach like a stone. These are the non-digested issues which we are not willing to look at and clear up. If we have problems with our ears, that usually means that there is something we don't want to hear and someone we don't want to listen to. For instance, earaches are very common with children who often have to listen to unpleasant stuff going on in the household which they really don't want to hear. Now, the same applies to problems with our eyes. There is most likely something we don't want to see, either about ourselves or about our past, present, or future life. We close our eyes to something which we should take a look at. I could go on and on with more examples, but Louise Hay understood this perfectly and pioneered a reference book that lists many of these mental patterns that cause a disease. Her book has become a classic and is called You Can Heal Your Life. Again, whenever we keep sensing, thinking, speaking, or acting against love, it builds up corresponding energy complexes that affect the respective consciousness centers and prevent it from giving a particular organ sufficient amount of spirit power via our nerves. And the result is an illness. Medicine may help, but as Paracelsus said, all healing comes from within. We have to clear up our soul burden first if we want a permanent healing. In addition, we have to change our sensing, thinking, speaking, and acting to become more positive and life-affirming. I've made several videos on this subject of karma and soul burden and will go deeper into the healing aspects in separate videos.
You can also read more about it in the book The Cause and Development of All Illness by Gabriele. You can find a link to this book on my recommended book page on my website lifeexplained.com. Yes, there are other spiritual paths that speak about these 7 consciousness centers or chakras, and they give them different names and qualities. But I always come back to these Christian mystical teachings because of their ingenious simplicity. They're easy to understand, simple clarity that works. No pomp and embellishments. That's why I like them. Keep well and keep healthy, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in my next video.
Okay,
We're back.
so we'll start with the questions that Tracy has
Sure.
lovingly prepared,
Okay.
and then we'll both discuss it. Okay?
Yes. One was, I was curious about maybe your thoughts, or I know that you're close with Hans as well, so you've had some instruction through him. What he means by the seat of the nucleus of the soul being in your crown chakra. I had always kind of imagined that being in our heart chakra.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that, I think of the crown chakra as an entryway for divine information, for that download, essentially, for that energy to come in. But I always kind of feel like the heart is more the central nucleus, like that's kind of like always been my perception.
Well, Hans studied with me. We studied this together, the information, and he had studied other groups, and I had studied other groups, but we came together. That's how we met, by the group that it's called the Universal Spirit, and we both studied this together. So we're talking. I'd have to talk about what they told us, and I never questioned it, or I had never seen it anywhere else but up here.
Right.
And we were talking before, and you had said you've seen it. Other religions will teach these chakras in different places than
Right, or
Yeah.
other spiritual practices, not even
spiritual
necessarily
practice. Yeah,
religions.
religion is not a good word. Spiritual practice, much better. And to me, I just assumed that because it was here in the soul, on the top of the head, through this crown chakra, that it would be up here. That's just what
Right. Yeah, I guess I never really thought of like the nucleus of our soul. Maybe that I've never really postulated that. I've
Yeah.
never really kind of imagined like where is the nucleus of our soul. And I guess when he posed that in the video, I just kind of thought, oh, I always kind of imagine it being the heart. Like
Right.
you think of the heart as the center, the pumping station of your body. So it's just
Yeah.
interesting to see
And
a
this
different.
is like the brain. Because of the brain, this is what I would say God or heaven or spirits, whatever, how they made us, how we're made. And it was posed to me like a tree. We have a
Okay.
tree inside of us.
Yeah.
And if you look at the tree, I think they said it was an upside down tree a
Oh,
long time
really?
ago. I don't know, but that doesn't really make sense. But if the root is up here
Yeah.
and come through it would make sense.
Well, yeah, I always think of it as kind of like as above, so below. Like, so there is kind of a a flipping of that,
Yeah. Yeah.
that diagram essentially.
So it comes through the brain,
Yeah, I understand that.
And
Like
everybody
that,
says
that
soul.
energy comes through, your crown chakra.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking of that as more of like an opening, like an entryway, not necessarily the center or the nucleus.
I guess entryway into the soul up here, and then down through all these chakras for all these different feelings. And I have a picture.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And that's a pretty common depiction of our 7 chakras.
If you could see the chakras in the body, if you could see when a person walks by you, this is what you would see. This is what comes out from us. This is what they look like. And it's something like that.
And the colors, they tend to vibrate. Although, like I do know that, different energetic colors can be displayed in the chakras as well, but primarily, like you radiate those colors into your aura.
Right. And sometimes they're not so bright, right?
Right.
And we also have some in our hands and on their feet.
Yeah,
Small
like
chakra. There
portals,
are small,
essentially. I always think of them as portals. They're portals that allow energy to be pulled in, and pushed out, like a vortex, essentially. And even though I know we have, this opening on our crown, and there are entryways through all of these chakras. It's not simply the crown that pulls in all of the energy, correct? Would you say that?
That's a good question.
Because I think of it as like like all these chakras represent like a spinning wheel, so it is sort of like as a vortex that pulls in energy to those areas, so you can kind of gather that through all your chakras. But I think that if you're trying to connect with divine wisdom or divine energy, that you can primarily pull that in through your crown.
Right, because it's on top.
Right,
You're up,
spiritual.
heaven up, supposed to be up, and so forth. That's what when I meditate, I start with the crown, right, and we go down to the bottom, to the collective basin, and then back up. So, but I think you can,
I've done both because I've also kind of concentrated on the root chakra so that you can pull up, Mother Earth energy too. So I always think of like Father Sky and the divine coming through your crown chakra, and Mother Earth, that nurturing, solid earth energy coming up through your root chakra.
I think you could pull it. I think you can do that too. I have read somewhere where they did pull from the earth into you.
Yeah.
Like if you go, the light comes from heaven through here or whatever, and then down the bottom, like they even say, standing outside, like in the woods or something, with your
bringing
feet in the ground,
it in through your feet.
bringing it through your feet.
Because energy is all around us,
Right.
and these are just wheels and vortexes that pull it in. Yeah, different types of energy.
I think that you're right. I think that any of the chakras can pull in the energy from wherever. I think that's good. Yeah.
So let's see. Let's talk about that collective basin.
Yeah. What did you?
So-
When I first heard of this, I always thought of it as in the bottom of your, like your tailbone. It's by your tailbone.
Yep.
And
So he's speaking of the root chakra there, correct?
no, he's speaking of collective basins lower than the root
Oh,
chakra.
lower than the root,
Yeah.
okay.
It's not in the center of order, which is on the last chakra on the bottom. It's below that.
Okay.
Order's in more like below the navel, between the navel and the organs, your sexual organs is order.
Okay.
And then the collective basin is in the back, at the bottom of your
Like at the
tailbone.
tail spine, like where like the Kundalini energy
The Kundalini, that's it.
begins, which
Collective
I don't know
base
if
of
our
Kundalini.
audience is-
Yep. That's it. I always thought of it as a place where these colors were swirling around,
See, I always thought of that as your root chakra. So it's
Yeah, no.
interesting.
Yeah, then you pull it up through your root chakra and all the way
Okay.
up, and it's like I've heard of people who have worked with Kundalini.
Yes, me
and
too.
I've heard of people who got in trouble for working with
Yeah,
the
because it can be
Kundalini.
extremely powerful if you're
Yes.
not ready to assimilate that energy, because it can be super strong and kind of like almost like blow your circuits essentially,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
People have gotten a little bit of mental problems from not being able
Knowing
to.
how to
Yeah.
handle that energy, right?
That's right. You have to be really
And it
careful,
can happen
folks.
very quickly. Like people don't realize how powerful that type of energy is, that it can move up your body very quickly. And
See, we don't know who we are. We don't know how powerful we are. We don't know what God gave us and put into us when we came here. We don't know a lot of that stuff. So we read these things and we play with it. And that's where we get in trouble.
Well, if you have the right guidance, it can be a really powerful
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you have to, that's exactly, get the right guidance from the right people. People who tell, and how do you know? Your gut instinct will tell you if you're with someone. Does it feel good? Or does it make you feel a little leery?
Right.
If you feel a little leery, leave it alone. Go away. Find somebody else. And until that, we all have that sense of feeling, is it right? Is it wrong? Is this person coming from a good place or not a good place? We all have it. You can't say that we don't all have it.
I think that you just have to quiet everything else out and to be present with that, to listen to your intuition, listen to your gut.
So you start out by meditating and opening these chakras, but you need to have the guidance. Like you said, you need to strive for the highest and the best. I always say, your angels, God, Christ, whatever, high, and get that kind of energy in you so that anything that comes to you will not be able to, if it's not high, it won't be able to get into you.
Right.
Because people have also attracted low entities, low souls, or demon spirits or whatever towards them. Didn't mean to.
No.
Like that, what was that movie, The Exorcist? Yeah.
It's a movie, but
Didn't mean to, but this
I think that, energy exists on all frequencies. So
Right.
If we are in fear or doubt or disbelief, then we are attracting like energy. So you kind of want to grow beyond that so that you pull in the higher frequencies.
You're right, absolutely. Like attracts like.
Yeah.
Always, in all kinds of ways, no matter what.
And so
People,
I
everything.
think, in terms of lessons of the chakras too, like if you feel a lack of something, like I always thought of, love kind of centering in your heart chakra. So like I was always thinking if you feel a lack of love, like to concentrate on that chakra and to open it up and to imagine it being an open gate for that experience, pulling that energy in.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is good. Now we'll just have to make sure we know which one.
I know, right? Right. Because we were talking ahead of time about a little bit about the order, of the chakras and what they represent, and that there are some, there are some differences of theory on that. But because I always thought of the third chakra as the area for will, like where your ego rests in you. Like it's called the solar plexus, so it's like the sun. So it, is your power place, your place of power. So I always associated that with like ego and will, like where you get that oomph, to go out in the world.
It's funny how they're putting order. Let me see, what did he say? The will controls, does that control the sexual organs, or was it order?
Yeah, no, I think he was saying that order was your root chakra, and the second chakra was will, and the third chakra was wisdom.
Right, but I'm saying he told.
what it relates to. I always, was taught that your second chakra related to your sexual organs, because
so that would
it's
be will.
like, yeah, as if like the first chakra represents I am, like I am in this world, and then that second chakra is like we are, like we connect, we pull together, we relate, and it brings in all of the sexual organs because that's the human tendency to connect and procreate and all of that.
And the order is when the first one down here is without order in your thoughts, your words, your deeds, your life, you can't go very far because everything is always coming at you.
Yeah, and that made sense to me with the root chakra, because if you think about, it's like foundational energy. So like we need to make sense of our world first, right? Like we need to be able to say, this is our family, this is, our neighborhood, to know that things have a place and that they can be depended on. I think a lot of fears come from, that lack of order in our youth, you know, like if we've had a very challenging like childhood and it lacked order or lacked the dependability upon like our caregivers and things like that. I find a lot of people who have like deep phobias and fears, you know, feel like they grew up in an orderless kind of environment. So
we were told that a real good mantra to say is God is divine and I am absolute order. God is divine and I am absolute order. And it said if you say that over and over again, you'll start to feel what's you need to work on in yourself to get that order in your life.
Yeah, because it'll bring the light to the disorder, I guess, right?
So you could say it
sense.
when you're in the car, when you're walking along, whatever, while you're eating your lunch, just say that as much as you can.
Right.
And he had told us about this in something, I don't remember what it was, but that's a very good mantra to say, you know?
Yeah, it's
people out there.
Beautiful. We have a lot of questions here to kind of cover. So
I know.
You want me to ask another?
Yeah, how about let's get some examples of what happens to us when our chakras are out of balance.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Well, like Hans was saying, they do kind of rule over both our physical and our emotional bodies, you know. So I always find that when I've done energy work on people that it's very related. Like if they have heart problems, it's their heart chakra. If they're having problems in their stomach, it's their solar plexus. If they are having problems, you know, even with their bowels or things of that nature, it could be like their root chakra, you know, like I find that it's very related. And then same with that emotional body, right? So, you know, like if, again, back to the heart chakra, if you know, have a closed heart chakra, you could be feeling a lack of love, or you could be feeling, you know, self-hatred even, or unforgiveness towards people, lack of compassion,
and
anger,
not able to love people. That's another thing that will come from that. Not able to love, a lack of love and not able to love. And sometimes they're too tied together, but if you're feeling that, why can't I love people? Why can't I, you know?
And I think that, you know, it starts first with the emotional problems and then becomes more concrete, and that's when it becomes like a physical problem where you start to have like heart issues.
Right.
Like,
I remember one time when I was doing healing on someone, when I got down to the water will area for the sexual organs, it was, I felt apprehension, I felt nervous, I felt like something was really off. And the thought came to me, I didn't want to say anything to her because I figured it was private, but I said, I don't know how to ask you this, but did you ever have a problem with somebody hurting you sexually?
Yeah.
And she looked at me, she says, yes, she had been raped. So she was okay. I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and she's had dealt with it and everything, you know. And I said, well, it's in there still. She's like, I'm still working on it. I haven't got rid of it all. So that's some of the things that can happen to me. That happens, personal experience with someone.
Right.
Yeah, true.
And I know, I've worked with a lot of women. I feel like there's a tendency towards issues with their throat chakra, like if they've suppressed a lot, or they've grown up in, you know, like, well, our society first off, but also like in, you know, a male-dominated energy where they felt like they weren't allowed to talk or they weren't allowed to speak their mind. And then next thing you know, like they're having throat issues or thyroid issues or, you know, things along those lines. So I find that that's a pretty common, and I'm not just, you know, stereotyping it being for women, because it happens to men as well. But I think that, you know, in our society, it's more common for women to kind of feel like they don't have the right to speak. Or
I know it was totally common.
It's getting
way
better,
back, but now it's getting
better.
Or I don't know what to say, because sometimes women just overstep, I think. You know, I think, I don't know, we won't go into that. But yes, it could be either. Also, if you like I said, you can't speak out. You're not able to speak out, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
And or it could be that you speak out too much. too.
Oh, yeah, it could be. And
Yeah.
that's the thing with any energy. It can be repressed or overemphasized.
Actually, yeah, you're right. You're
But it's
absolutely
all
right.
part of the same coin, right?
Right. So we're just
You
trying
can
to
have problems.
stress to everyone that when you have a problem in a certain area of your life, body,
Yep.
that chakra is what needs to be worked on because that's the problem. And
Right.
sometimes healers can help you with that, right? Or some kind of therapy, but it has to be spiritual therapy, not just
Yeah.
psychological. It has to be mixed with spirit and spirituality and all that to try to find out what the problem is, you know. And a lot of times if you just get help some way, it'll clear that up because you've let go of that problem,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
So,
But, what was he saying? Something about, like, once we work on our karma, we can, or I think he was saying something about healing. I had that question. I don't know if it's still here. Oh, yeah. So Hans mentioned that we have to clear our soul burden to experience healing. How do we do this? Can practices like Reiki or holistic approaches help that process? Like, is he saying that, we just kind of have to face and work through our karma in order to have a healing? Or can we, see a practitioner who does energy work and have a healing?
okay, I think, like, when I do healing, my healing is more based on, it's Christ healing, and it's more based on helping you to see what your problem is that is causing the illness. Okay? I don't proclaim to heal the organ or heal the illness.
And I think that's important for
because
people
I don't
to
think that
understand.
it can be, to me personally, I don't think it can be healed unless you heal what the problem is.
The consciousness, your consciousness.
The consciousness, what's going on there. And if it's a karmic thing, then you have to find that out. Whatever it is, if it's something that's taking place now, whatever it is, a lot of illness is from karma. Right, karma's got a bum rap because they think it's a punishment. When it's not a punishment, it's just something that happened in a past life that we need to work on and clear up.
This
right?
life, yeah.
Yeah, we're never punished. I hate that word. God never punishes us.
It's just we're learning
Not
the
ever.
lesson again. I always think of it as school. Like you failed that test, so let's give it to you again. Like
Right.
that's all.
Yeah.
Like retaking the test until you get the A.
Yeah, he's just come out with a new video called "Don't Be a Victim,"
Right.
and that's going to be interesting. We're going to play that on another
I
show.
love that one.
Yeah, and that's the problem. When we think that we're victims, we can't heal because we're just feeling sorry for ourselves constantly. You have to man up or woman up if you want to say it that way, and face it.
Right.
And a lot of people don't like to do that. They really don't. They want to play victim because they think it's sympathy. Oh, you poor thing,
Yeah.
and things like that.
Those
and
days are passing. People have to kind of.
But if you want to go to a healer, get ready to face these problems.
So the healer isn't going to just miraculously take the problem away that is.
We have to say this
caused
to
by
the
those
audience. It has
chakras.
happened. Healers have been powerful enough to take the problem away, but
Will
down
it
the
remain
road,
away? Yeah. Will it stay?
No.
If you haven't learned the lesson.
Right. Down the road, it'll come back in the same way or in another thing, and sometimes worse. So,
Unless I don't know. I do think that they're. If you're allowing in that moment, that consciousness can just be lit up in you, and you can have a moment, of ascension through that experience, it can just light up your inner knowledge. And when that's lit up, you can have a spontaneous healing, I do feel.
yeah, and I also heard of sometimes when someone has really served their karma, played it out, but weren't able to let go, that sometimes a healing will make them let go of it, and then you will be healed. So there's different ways, but I wouldn't expect miracles of someone that you go to heal with.
No, I know.
Yeah.
And that's important to emphasize. Not that it hasn't happened, but you still have to do the work.
Yes, it is. And one thing we talked about, they asked us, was do animals have chakras? Yeah, they do have.
Oh, yeah.
They do have them, just like us. Same thing.
We all need that
Yeah.
to be fed that energy.
Creatures,
to be alive, right?
right? Creatures, plants, all of it. We all have everything God created like that. That's life. Has chakras. Maybe in a different place, a different balance, but we all have it. You know, people think, oh, well,
I always think of like even the planet, our planet having chakras. If you look at like
Mother Earth,
different
yeah.
countries, like they hold a different energy, and it seems to align with the chakras sometimes.
yeah, it does.
You know,
I have read that there's sort of these kind of radiation fields, kind of like the nuclear power plants, you know, but they're put together like the scales of a fish. And way, way, way long time ago, before when we first came here, which is a long story, another story, they were planted into the ground because they were used to draw energy to make things happen. And they're still here. And the most strongest, most accumulated ones are in the middle, near, and far east. And we could see that because there's a lot of tension over there, a lot of problems that they have, you know. And they will affect you if you're negatively or positively, depending on how you are. So yeah, that's something for people to, you know, could check into that. You could find out about that. And what do you think the difference between our chakras and our aura is?
Oh, well, I think our chakra is what pulls in the energy, and our aura is the display of that radiating off of us.
Remember that time we went to that meeting and the man was talking and we both looked at each other and said, "Why is there green around him?" We both saw that. Remember that? That because he would now that came from the heart is green, right? The heart chakra is green. So he was talking from the heart.
Yeah, and I think those colors and the stories. Some say that there are like geometric patterns in your aura. If you are experienced at reading energy, you can pick up on a lot of things in people's auras.
I know it.
A lot of different colors or lack of color.
Right.
Yeah.
I heard that, what was his name, Al Capone? Someone who was able to see auras said his was a really muddy brown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I read that. Excuse me, I read that somewhere. But anybody can, if you study, you can learn to do these kinds of things, right?
Right.
Study with earnestness, you know? Well, do you think we kind of covered this and should go on to the next one?
We should probably hit that next.
All right. The next one is
meditation. Right?
Yeah, how to meditate. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Hi, I'm Hans Wilhelm. In this video I like to show you an easy way of how to meditate. Edgar Cayce used to remind us that sooner or later everyone has to learn how to meditate, so we might as well do it right now here in this lifetime. Meditation helps us to be more and more in the moment, which is the only time we have to experience life. It helps us also to become more mindful. It increases our creativity, our productivity, and it has proven health benefits. It helps us rebuilding and re-energizing our body and our soul.
Meditation allows us to drop our stress levels and gain more enjoyment of life. And when we start meditating, we will suddenly see how busy our mind is. Meditation can also help us to better listen to our inner guidance, for which we need stillness to hear it. When we reach stillness, we come closer to God, because God is stillness. In meditation, we are not trying to create a particular experience. We are just assuming the position of unconditional freedom, without any expectations. There are many forms of meditation, but in this video I will focus on the mindful breathing meditation. It's a meditation where we focus on our breath, which we usually take for granted. But every breath that we take is a gift from God. The breath ties our soul to our body. Without the breath, we would not be able to stay in our body. It doesn't require pretzeling up in the famous lotus position. The Western meditation position of sitting upright in a chair is equally powerful. So we begin our meditation by finding the right location, a quiet and peaceful place where we will not be disturbed. We are sitting comfortably in an upright position on a chair. We can lean with our lower back against the back of the chair for support. Our head is looking forward. And we have both feet firmly on the ground. We do not cross our legs. The back of our hands rests on our thighs. And we now pull the hands closer to our body. This gives us a straight upright position. We close our eyes. We now take some deep and slow breaths for a few minutes. We breathe in slowly through the nose
We notice the airflow through the nostrils down to our lungs. We breathe deep all the way down. We slowly fill our abdomen here, and we hold it there for a little moment. And then we breathe out through the mouth and let go of all tension. And we feel all tensions leaving the body as we breathe out. Once we have done it 3 or 4 times, we relax our body further and let it breathe normally through our nose. We fall into a normal breathing rhythm. And as we do this, we keep our attention on our breath. We do this effortlessly as we notice the sensation of our breath going through the nostrils, in, out, normal breathing. Stillness means simply being with whatever is going on. If there are outside noises, we merely register them and then set them aside. As we begin to relax, thoughts will come up. Our mind is not used of being still. And when thoughts come up, we observe them without getting involved in them. We merely notice them. There is no need to think these thoughts. They are all old repeated stuff. As a matter of fact, most thoughts that we have are not worth thinking. However, I have found that once in a while a totally unexpected thought may come up that is very important to me and which I really don't want to forget. Something like, I suddenly remember that I have to cancel my dentist appointment or something similar. And for such an important unexpected thought, I usually keep a yellow post-it block and pen next to my seat and just write down one word to remind me later, like the word dentist. And then I let go of it, the thought, and because I know I will later take care of the matter. We return witnessing to our breathing again. We can also focus on the short gap between each breath, whatever works for you. Eventually, new thoughts will appear and the mind will wander, so don't be frustrated, just keep on focusing on the breath again. This is basically all that meditation is. Not very exciting, you might think, but very, very powerful. I know from my own experience, having a true calm mind, at least for a while, is a real treasure. We do this for about 10 to 15 minutes, ideally one session in the morning before we check our electronic devices and another session in the evening. The main thing is that we do it on a daily basis.
Anybody who enjoys a more guided visualization meditation will find many apps on the internet that offer daily meditations. Now, if you don't mind my accent, I have recorded for you a 10 minutes free guided visualization meditation, which you can try out. It is one of my favorite light meditation. And you can find it on this channel or on the website lifeexplained.com. Thank you for your company.
Okay.
We're back.
We're back. All right, so
this is an interesting subject because everybody I work with always says, oh, I have so much trouble meditating so hard. I know that they've even brought meditation into the prisons and schools and everything. And I once heard an interview with an inmate in a prison saying, this is harder than anything I've ever had to do.
that's cute.
Right? Yeah. And here we're talking about somebody who's
I've seen when little kids were doing it. And one little kid was kind of going like this with his face,
he was trying to
concentrate. It was so adorable.
Oh,
but they said the kids were doing very well with it, better than adults.
Yes.
So,
and then if you can start that practice that young, it'll be a natural thing for you.
That would be so good. People out there could have their children learn to do that.
I'm seeing it come into the schools more and more, which is good.
It is.
Yeah. So where should we
start?
Start? Okay. Well, my first question was, Hans mentions that stillness is God, and it made me think, like, is an activity God as well? I get that. I think that he was trying to kind of explain that, like, when we're still, we're in the presence, we can really feel the presence of God, right? But I know that sometimes people also feel very much like they're in a meditation in nature, walking or doing what they love. They feel that closeness as well.
True. It's true.
Yeah.
It's like if people go walking in nature, they usually take a friend and they talk the whole time they're walking. They miss out on the stillness, the quietness in the woods, the little animals, the beautiful trees, hugging a tree. I love to hug trees. Oh my God, you can feel the power in the trees.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that.
So it just made me think like, oh, activity is God too. And sometimes
Yeah.
we can find our meditative practices bring us into nature, and it can be more of an active meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can. Because you're focused. You're still focused on
Right.
your nature, on as you're walking and what you're
Right.
looking at.
And I think that for some people that might be a good place to start, because before it feels so unnatural to just be still and sit there. So if they were to kind of incorporate a slower, kind of more conscious meditation in nature, that could be like work with activity first a little bit and then get quieter and quieter.
That's
you
good.
know?
That's a good thought. Listen to her, folks. That's a good thought.
It just
You know what came to my mind?
helped
What
me.
Eckhart Tolle always says, live in the moment. Always
Be
be
present,
in the
yeah.
be present.
Be
Always
the
be in the
observer.
moment. If you're always in the moment when you're having the activity, you're still meditating,
Right.
right?
Yeah, and one thing I didn't think of ahead of time is just some tips, like what helps you meditate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
What I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, like what helps you to meditate? Like what are your tips or tricks for?
Well, one of the things when he said focusing on the breath, see, that means that will make you be present in your breath. You listen to it. So there's something going on, because everybody needs something going on all the time. That's one thing. I start doing that. But then when I get going, I don't know, it's like a little switch, or I'll focus, my eyes are closed, so focus in the darkness. Just that kind of thing, When I say music.
Right.
Music. I have nice, really soft, nice music. Remember the ones you gave it to me, the Indian music.
Oh, the flute. Yeah, Indian
Flutes, world
yeah.
flutes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful music. And I listen to the music, not too loud, just really soft. That's one of the things that really helps me to do it. And then when the thoughts come in, all of a sudden it'll run, and I'll get back here in the middle.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I found that focusing on a buzz, like if you hear your refrigerator buzzing, or sometimes I feel a little buzz kind of internally in my ears. So I'll just focus on that, because you don't have an opinion about it. It's just it feels like a very neutral thing. It's not going to be making you think of your grocery list or your,
Right,
you know what I mean?
Perfect.
If,
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes even music can be a little bit too powerful for me, and I can start interpreting the music and thinking about the music, and
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I can kind of read into that a little bit. But if I just hear some white noise or a buzz in the background, I'll focus on that.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the breath, the music, the noise,
Yeah.
different ways to do that. And bring it back when it goes. It's like your imagination goes over here.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
I'll just imagine it if I have a thought that it's floating by.
That's
You
it.
know?
He says
Yeah.
that. Just let it, see it, but don't get involved with it.
Right.
Oh, there it is. Okay,
Witness.
goodbye.
Witness. I think that was one of my questions
Yeah.
too, where I was saying, what does it mean to witness your breath, or witness the gaps in the breath? I think maybe our audience would like an interpretation of what is it to witness something, because we always feel we're a part of what's going on with us. How do we pull back and be an observer of that?
That's it. Just look at it, but don't get involved in it. Don't have thoughts about it. The thought comes in, what shall I wear to the dinner tomorrow night? They'll come.
Yeah.
And you just look at it. And you just think, later.
Right.
Just let it go by. Later, constantly,
Yeah.
And
then
don't get
you-
involved. Just
It's
be.
interesting with meditation, you start to learn that you're not your mind, we kind of think we are our mind and these thoughts we have, and but you're not. You're somewhere outside of there, looking in,
That's it. I remember a teacher once that I had who always told me, stand back there and look at yourself. And what are you doing? I can't do that. I was able to start, by meditating, I was able to start doing that. Look at myself. And I talk like that way
Right.
too. And I'm talking to myself. But it's true, yeah, we're not our minds.
No.
We're our spirit.
Yep. And I think that, like, another tip that I know that I had to start out very gradually, like, I only could meditate for 5 minutes. Then I gradually added more and more. Yeah.
Me too. I did the same thing, and adding it more and more like that. Yeah. And for me, the music, it doesn't distract me because, I don't know, music
floats you away.
Yeah, always, I don't know, music just keeps me focused. I just, But some people, you're right, some people can't.
Sometimes I can use music. Other times I can.
I have a white noise machine when I sleep at night. Or I'll do a mantra if I'm laying in bed, and then what did he say? He said, when you go to bed at night, it's time to think about, do penguins have knees? In other words, all the crazy thoughts that come into your mind. So I have a mantra that I say longer than the one I just told you about. And it's a way of, how can I say, focusing. I focus on what I'm saying in my head.
Yeah, so that you don't go in all these different directions.
Next thing I know, I'm asleep. I wake up and, it's 2 hours later. I didn't even finish it.
Right.
So that's another way,
Yeah, and I know that when I first started meditating, I had trouble staying awake. Like,
that's another thing.
That's a very common thing for people to
Don't meditate after you eat. You go right to sleep.
Is that it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know why. I just thought, like, I'm so relaxed, I can't stay awake.
They say that the first thing in the morning, after you do your beauty thing, and then before you have breakfast, and then in the evening, like say you eat supper at 6, wait a couple hours until the sleepiness from the meal wears off, and then between supper and bedtime, right in the middle, to meditate at that time. And that will also help to relax the body for sleep, So those are both the two good times. They said just do it twice a day is good,
Yeah.
and keep trying it. It's the only way to get our minds quiet. Only way.
Yeah, it's not easy. So what else we have?
Also, sometimes, not a lot, but once in a while, I'll be something beautiful, spiritual will come into my mind, and I don't even realize that it's there. I'm lost in that. What happened? It doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen.
Yeah,
So
I have that quite often too. And then even then, I'm like, okay, am I supposed to follow that, or am I supposed to stay in stillness? Because I think that what happens. I mean, I know from a biological perspective, when you meditate, your brain waves go from delta to alpha to theta, and as they decrease like that, is it decrease? I think it's decrease. As they decrease, you are more apt to have these experiences of creativity, like inspiration. That's how Einstein did a lot of his work. He would go into deep meditation and then get these inspirations.
they say that the universe is talking to us, and they're telling us these things all the time, except we don't hear them.
Right.
And when we meditate, we finally hear them.
Yes.
And the universe goes, it's about time.
Right.
I've been saying this for so long.
Right.
And I will get them. I will get, all of a sudden a thought will come into my mind of a quote that I want to say to somebody, or I want to put on my computer or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. Or an answer to a question that I had been,
Oh yeah.
a problem or something. That will come in when I'm meditating.
But it's almost like you don't go into the meditation really seeking.
Oh,
I think
no.
when you go in seeking, you're almost like
You set yourself up.
There's that
That's the
clutching,
point.
there's that like come to me, and it doesn't necessarily come. You sort of have to let go of the question even
Yes.
and just be, right?
Right. You have to know the difference where if it's a message for you, you can look at the message and then just, in your mind mentally say, even to your angel, remind me about that later or whatever. I don't
Right.
stop. I can't stop my meditation and write something down like you had shown
Oh
this.
yeah, like you had said, the Post-its.
I
Sometimes
can't.
I'll do before I meditate, I'll do like a brain dump. I'll get out a piece of paper and I'll just write all these random thoughts I'm having down on paper. And it feels like I've been able to like get it out and put it aside, and then I'll meditate.
I like that, brain
Yeah.
dump.
Yeah.
I like that. That describes it perfectly.
Yeah, so that it doesn't come up.
Right. Right.
Of course, things still come up, but
Yeah.
less of it when I do that ahead of time.
The teacher for the spiritual teachings that I follow, she said she can meditate in a bus with everybody walking around and talking. When you can do that, you really got it. The inner peace. Because she said, in a crowded place with noise, you if you get that good, you can do that. You can shut it all out, and you can do that.
Yeah.
But
I know that I broke my arm a couple of years ago, and I think because I couldn't do things, like I really gave myself permission to work on my meditation practice. You know, I think that before that, I always feel like I got to get up and do this or do that. You know, like I almost felt like it was a luxury to meditate. But then when I had an injury, you know, it was sort of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it's an excuse. When you're sick, you get an excuse to stay in bed all day or pamper yourself. Oh, I know that.
Not that I wish that on anybody, but yeah, like sometimes like you have to look for opportunities or, you know, like understand that this is, you know, give yourself permission. You shouldn't look, you know, to wait for it from an experience like that.
I go through the same thing, and I bet there's so many people out there that go through the same thing.
Yeah, we're in such a busy world. We think we have to keep doing.
We feel guilty.
Yeah, like we're just sitting there doing nothing, but it's really powerful work.
It is. If it's this whole world would meditate, ooh, it would be so nice. So nice. Well, you know what? Any more questions you want to talk about, or should we kind of show the people about the how to sit and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to move on to like maybe like giving them an example, that would probably be good.
All right. So, how he said, you put your feet flat on the floor, your hands on your lap, and you bring them up here.
Oh, okay.
You don't. You know, I say this is when you're listening. And this is when you want to receive.
Okay.
And we want to receive because we want to receive any messages from the universe or whatever.
Yeah, that feels good.
The back is
straight.
Yeah, straight up. And the head is straight up. And you just close your eyes and just sit there like that. That's what it's all about.
I find that sitting in a chair like upright like that is helpful. I know some people sit cross-legged on the floor.
Yeah, I don't. That
but I feel like
for
this
me.
keeps me more awake and present.
Me too. Exactly. And when you fall asleep, the head goes forward. I've done that.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put
then
your head,
it wakes
wake
you
up.
up, right?
Yeah, and get back upright.
Yeah.
But this is a position. You close your eyes, and I always say.
Now he says breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth.
Right.
Do you do
I
that?
go,
Yeah. I do the same. Yeah.
I blow it out. You know, people don't know how to do that. They go.
It feels like such a release to blow out.
Yeah, blow out. They can't. They go.
Yeah, they're shallow breathers. You got to go deep with it. Go deep, really deep.
Go deep and then deeply let it out like that. Yeah, that's what I do. That about 5 breaths is what I usually take. And then I say a little something, you know, like a little prayer or something, and ask to lead and guide and protect me as I go within. Help me to meditate, you know, and be with me and anything that you want to tell me, you know, something like that. And then just get quiet. And then I kind of go down, start with the...
Oh, you imagine
the light coming in through my crown chakra, the white light, and coming down to the... I go down all the chakras, go down to the bottom, go into the collective basin, just mentally, quickly, you know, just...
Light it all up.
Just float down.
Yeah.
And then when you get down there, then you can, after you've reached the bottom, the kundalini, that's another people call that the kundalini, the collective basin. Then you can go to any chakra you want if you want to address a certain chakra and just keep your attention there for whatever problem you want to think. You know, wisdom, your heart, you want your throat if you're having a problem, or you just want to learn how to say something better, do something, whatever feels comfortable.
Right.
Sometimes just let it go. Let
it all go, right.
Let the mind take
Trust that
right.
energy will go where it needs to go.
Yeah.
And there's my information, Tracy Crampton. www.tracycrampton.com is where you can find me online. My number is 203-232-3405, and my email, tdcrampton@gmail.com.
Tracy,
thank you.
Thank you, sweetheart. It was wonderful. I love having you back. You know, Tracy was the original creator. Okay, folks, good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands.